Xperia M4 Aqua looks so similar to the flagship Sony phone, the Xperia Z3, that it's almost impossible to tell the difference. And that's a great thing, as both are slim and stylish devices that impress with their looks. The Xperia M4 Aqua, however, features a plastic frame and a reflective plastic back made to resemble glass, while the Xperia Z3 is made of sturdy aluminum and real glass on the back. The M4 Aqua's plastic build feels a bit cheaper and not as sturdy as the rock-solid construction of the Z3. All the physical keys are on the right, a small but noticeable power key, a smallish volume rocker, and a two-way camera shutter key. As its name implies, the Xperia M4 Aqua is protected from the elements, both from dust and water, and it's officially certified with the IP68 rating. That rating guarantees that you can submerge your phone as deep as 5 feet for as long as 30 minutes without it suffering any damage. The Sony Xperia M4 Aqua features a 5-inch 720p IPS LCD display, sharp enough when viewed at regular distances, but still jagged pixel edges are a little bit noticeable when you look at the phone from up close. In terms of colors, the display of the M4 Aqua looks pretty good. It's not perfectly calibrated and whites appear a bit bluish, but overall colors are lively without being unnaturally oversaturated. For color perfectionists, Sony includes manual control over the red, green and blue channels, and you can safely add a bit of reds to compensate for the bluish whites. The display also gets very bright, reaching a maximum luminance of 551 nits, which makes it much easier to use the phone outdoors. Viewing angles are also very decent, with colors retaining a lot of their vibrancy even at an angle. With Android 5.0 Lollipop and a fairly light but noticeable Sony skin, the M4 Aqua does not feel cluttered in any way and is a pleasure to use. The light nature of Sony's skin allows for a lot of the speedy and good-looking material design nature of the Android 5.0 to show up. The signature Sony touch comes in the wallpaper and theme department. Think of themes on the Xperia M4 Aqua as a fairly light type of customization. They do not provide as far-reaching of an overhaul as do modern themes on the phones like, say, the Samsung Galaxy S6 with their custom icons and widgets, but still are a nice thing to have. The Xperia M4 Aqua runs on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 615 system chip, a 64-bit chip with 8 Cortex-A53 cores running up to 1.5 GHz, 2 GB of RAM and Adreno 405 GPU. The big question that most of you will ask is, does it lag? The answer is mostly no. The phone runs fairly smoothly apart from a very rare stutter. It does, however, have issues with the speed of the camera app, but for all else it's a fairly smooth performer. Now, it does not exactly crush through benchmarks, but real-life performance is what ultimately matters the most. One area where benchmarks do give a more direct idea of performance is gaming and GPU capabilities, and given the 720p display of this phone, it manages to run most games just fine, so you have no issues in that department as well. Now, for internal storage, you have the very scant 8 GB on board. This is not enough for daily use, and you'd need to buy an additional microSD card to increase the memory, and we advise you to do it right away. 8 GB is just not enough memory. The phone features Google's mobile Chrome as the default browser, and that's a good thing. The browser is fast, well optimized for touch with its card-based tab switching, and it syncs easily across various devices from mobile to desktop. Pages load fast, and scrolling and zooming in and out happens with only an occasional stutter, and it's mostly smooth. In terms of connectivity, you have 4G LTE on board with support for major carrier bands. Other connectivity options on the Sony Xperia M4 Aqua include dual-channel Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.1 and GPS. The 13-megapixel camera on the Xperia M4 Aqua is mostly a disappointment, slow to start and focus and lacking in detail. Full HD videos also don't look great. Now, the camera app is the usual Sony affair with a choice of the superior auto mode, a manual setting, as well as other fancier options for various effects that you'd rarely, if ever, use. The camera was also not very fast to start up and crashed on us on a few very rare occasions, making the camera experience feel not perfectly reliable. Now, the same applies to focusing, which was often on the slow side and a bit hit and miss. The actual images on the Xperia M4 Aqua turn out rather mediocre. The major issues here are a general lack of dynamics, highlights turn out burned out, and detail is not perfectly sharp. Indoors, in scare light conditions, images suffer from a similar lack of dynamics, but compared to other phones in this class, low light images do look a little bit better. Up front, there is a 5 megapixel selfie camera that does a fairly good job with selfies that feature a lot of detail, but colors do seem to appear a bit toned down in terms of color. Turning over to video, the Xperia M4 Aqua can record in up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. Video quality is a disappointment. The video lacks the sharp detail you might be used to seeing in 1080p videos, and it is a bit choppy. There are different focusing options, but no way to have continuous autofocus working properly for video, which is another disappointment, and sound captured on the built-in microphone is annoyingly tinny and lacks that depth. The media experience on the phone features those signature Sony applications that come bundled with every Xperia phone, the album video and Walkman music player. All of them come bundled with a quick access button to Sony's online storage under the Play Memories online brand. Zooming in and out of images in the gallery happens via a simple gesture that is fast and fluid, and some other basic editing options are on board in the gallery, so that's a good thing to have. Now, the music player features a home screen that shows album art and tiles for other albums, and overall gives you a very visual overview of what you're playing and could listen to next. Naturally, it categorizes your music collection by artists, albums, songs, folders, and playlists. The Sony Xperia M4 Aqua features dual front-facing speakers, but don't expect an HTC boom sound like Sound Revolution in mobile audio, nothing like that. Audio quality is still above average with sufficient oomph to it, but it could use a bit more definition in the low frequencies. Call quality is reasonably good on the Xperia M4 Aqua with no major issues. In the earpiece, sound quality is clear but a bit on the quiet side, and on the other end of the line we have a similarly clear sound which is also loud enough, and that's great. Some amount of digital distortion is audible on both sides, but that is a very minimal amount, so it's not really a deal breaker. The handset scores 6 hours and 22 minutes on our own battery test, placing it right around the middle of our phone battery life rankings. In our experience using the phone, we find it very hard to squeeze out 2 days out of the battery that Sony promises on the box of this device. Modest use would drain the phone battery in a little over a day, while more intense usage will require you to charge your phone daily. So no big surprises here, but still doesn't quite live up to the 2-day battery life promise. We also take how much time it takes to fully recharge the phone from dead to 100% battery. In the case of the Xperia M4 Aqua, we have a 5-volt 0.85 amp charger that handles the task painfully slowly. It takes a whopping 2 hours and 52 minutes to fully recharge the phone.